Rob and Slim Show.
Hey, hola, you sexy dudes, you.
Eve McIntyre.
Yes.
Where's Peter?
That's me.
Is he calling separate or?
How have you been?
Good. How have you been? It's been a while since we spoke. I think 2 times ago that Peter called. It's been a while.
Yeah.
You called in as well.
You know, I'm getting old, so sometimes I forget, you know, what the hell.
I am
so
too.
Anyway, you guys are doing ghost stories, huh?
Yeah, well, I know you guys had some family stories that were pretty crazy.
Oh.
Like, I think you mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
Did it touch on some Munchausen by syndrome?
Well, you know, one of the true things, and actually, our family is so dysfunctional that's the horror story of it all. You know, I mean, they are so fucked up that they don't even know what they're doing half the time. Luckily, most of them are dead, because if they were alive, I could be sued, and my whole family would sue me. Trust me, they would sue me in a minute.
Yeah,
You know.
there's so many weeks my mom's like, you can't talk about this. And I'm like, okay, I get it, Mom.
Yeah. No. In my family, you could talk about anything, as long as you didn't use their name.
Okay.
Like, you know that woman that gave birth to me? I don't mean my mom, but it might be. You know, her initials are Mom, but, you know, as long as you don't actually say that, you're all right. So, but one of the true things that really happened, I don't think Pete even knows this, our grandfather, well, he knows that we had a grandfather, but our grandfather came from Romania, and the Timișoara, in a town called Timișoara, and he believed in vampires. Wow. And when I was a kid growing up, he would put the garlic in the windows and all that stuff.
Wow.
And you couldn't come into the house unless he invited you in. You couldn't just walk in, because that old myth, you know, that a vampire can't come in unless you tell him to come in.
Yeah.
Right.
So So I started out from a very early age, you know, doing that kind of crap, knowing about that kind of crap.
Wow.
But and then his wife's sister, came from Germany in the 1930s, and she disappeared. She went out for a walk one day and disappeared off the face of the earth.
Wow.
It was Nosferatu.
Yeah. It's like, you know, where else could I go but be from a crazy, screwed up family, you know? I mean, it's like just weird crap.
Wow.
You know, and then my dad, you know, like Pete told you before, my dad was a genius, but he had no common sense. If he walked out in the rain, he would have drowned. You know, he couldn't do it, anything. You know, he'd look up at the sky and the rain would have come in and he would have drowned. So, my mom was an obstetrics nurse at this particular hospital. And so my dad had a mistress, you know, and everybody knew about it. But anyway, he took his mistress, because she was pregnant, to the hospital where my mom worked, registered her under my mother's name to have their baby at the hospital that my mama worked.
Wow.
Now that's pretty horrifying, let me tell you.
Did your mother find out? Like
I was going to say, how do you get away with that?
No, you know, my mom, she put up with a lot of crap, but she was one of those women who would just stand there and take it, because back in those days, in the 50s and 60s, that's what she thought you had to do.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, but she got hers in the end, so that was a good thing. But, yeah, so growing up with horror stories, I mean, we had, as a matter of fact, right now, I was listening to the guy on before me. My husband and I live in Tennessee now, which is kind of hard for me, because I'm a staunch liberal living in redneck world. So
I was going to ask, because I know Peter's in California. I didn't know if you guys,
You're right.
I didn't know if you were there too.
Right. Yeah, I live there too, but so somehow I've ended up in Tennessee. But anyway, the house we live in was built in the 1800s, and it was a slave house.
Wow.
And the plantation was behind it, and it burned down. Well, the guy who owned the plantation, this is the story, he took his money, because, you know, the old story, nobody trusted banks, put it in a can, buried it, and killed his slave and buried his slave next to it. So every time it friggin' rains, my husband and I are out there with a metal detector, looking everywhere, hoping that this can of money will show up. But yeah, so I live in a slave house, so I'm just waiting for the things to start falling off the wall and crap now, you know. So, yeah, okay.
Peter, I think, said he's having trouble calling in. Let me see on my phone if I can get us on. I don't know. Usually we don't have a problem having like a couple people call at once.
I know, poor Petey.
I know. It's been a while. I think last year was the last time we had him. Last Halloween show.
I know.
Yeah, he keeps getting busy.
Definitely.
He keeps getting subscriber busy. Is there anything in like settings, Slim, that would prevent that?
No, I haven't updated the.
Let me see.
Skype.
I'm calling us too right now. It's ringing. Yeah, no, Peter. Oh man, I don't know, cause my call just went through. I just hung up on us, cause I don't need to talk to us twice. But I don't know. That's really weird. Oh man.
Is he gonna be able to get through?
I don't know, cause he says he keeps getting a subscriber busy message. But
I don't know.
I just called on my phone and it would have let Slim add me.
What if we try to do a quick switch? And we're going to hang up on Eve, have Pete call, and then Eve, you call in about...
Yeah, I was going to say that, because even if I don't get back on, Pete is much funnier than I am.
No, you're awesome, Eve. I wanted both of you guys on at once. We'll get...
But anyway, I'm going to hang up. You try to get Pete, and then I'll get back.
All right.
Cool.
All right, thank you.
I love you guys. Bye.
Bye. I'll tell Pete to call it.
Okay.
Try now.
Show me what you got.
Crazy Robin Slim Show.
Clearly I'm not competent to operate a non-rotary dial phone. So, whether I could bring any kind of value, entertainment, or otherwise remains to be seen. Is my sister on it?
She hung up. Because we said you were having trouble, so she hung up, and she's gonna try to call back. So hopefully we can get both you guys on.
I don't know how that works, though. It's like she's gonna give up her place on the ladder.
Is this like Fight Club? Are you guys the same? You're not. That's not like the Jackson thing, right? Like you guys aren't the same person, are you?
Well, I have been saving that secret for just now. I'm actually fully insane. No, she's in Tennessee.
I think we got to eat calling Peter. Robin Slim Show.
All right, let's do it.
Robin Slim Show.
Hey, is he there?
Peter.
All right.
Hey.
Yes. Yes. What's up, guys?
That's so cool.
Go ahead, Pete. Tell your stories now.
Well, it's a radio program. They have a format, so I don't know if the host wants to say something first. Or
I just started talking.
Just tell
you know me. I just took over the whole thing. I got on there and just started. I said, "Hey, are you telling ghost stories?" And he said, "Yeah." And I just went off, man. I just started talking. They didn't say shit for about 5 minutes.
Let me give you an example of who my sister is. Okay, so when I was a little kid, I was like a stick. Okay, and so everybody picked on me, and I got beat up a lot, right? So there were these two guys that were constantly shaking me down for my lunch money in elementary school. And one day I was playing out in the backyard, doing something like me with a toy car or some shit. And the gate bursts open, and it's these two guys from school, and they chase me, into my house. And my sister goes, "Oh, hell no," chases them back out and beats the shit out of both of them.
I was going to ask, who's older? Who's the older sibling?
Yes, I did. I'm the oldest. Yes, I'm the oldest.
So you're more protected.
But my dad, thankfully, always thought I was the youngest, so that was okay.
Well, here's the thing. Too. Eve used to always say, and she's much too modest to say it, herself. She used to say, "Nobody gets to beat you but me."
That's right.
I like that.
That's right. And you know what else? I told Pete this when he was in his 30s. He had some issues, like we all have, that we were trying to work through with the shrinks. So one day I was standing outside and I told him, "Huh?"
I was depressed. Yeah.
Yeah. So I told him, I said, "I know why you're talking to shrinks, and I can help you out with that." So he says, "Yeah, what?" And I said, "Well, when you were young, I used to beat you up, and then I'd sit you down, and I'd tell you that you were adopted, and that nobody loved you, and nobody was going to ever take care of you except me." Until this day, he was always looking for people like me, like women like me. So that helped him out a lot. He got over that.
And he made a lot of progress after that.
Yeah. I mean, I had to tell him I couldn't have him suffer anymore. You know, it was like, I did this to you. I'm so sorry because I love you more than anything. But, you know, that was good old mental warfare back then, you know. When you came from our family, you had to have what you had. That was it.
Yeah, you remember the story I told you about my dad. I mean, it was like our family was kind of like, oh, you made it through the day. You're back. Okay, have dinner. I mean,
you lived.
It was kind of like that.
Yeah, it's like when I came back to California, I was 18, and I had gone back to New York to live with my dad and his psycho wife, the one that was the mistress.
Yeah.
And she followed me around and was trying to kill me. So Dad sent me back to California. So I show up at my mother's house on Thanksgiving. No place to go, no money. Now, this is a horror story, only told for future generations. I come home. I say to her, Mom, I have nowhere to go. I'm hungry. It's cold. She wouldn't let me in. She sent her husband, Terry, who I can't stand, to take me to find me a place to live. He takes me to a condemned hotel in downtown Long Beach. Just like in the movies with the guy behind the glass, gets me a room. This room had 2 burners, a pull-out bed out of the wall, and 1 toilet and a sink. And so I'm sitting there, 18 years old, by myself on Thanksgiving with nowhere to go and no friends. So the very next day, I'm sitting in this shitty little room, and I hear a noise. So I open up the door, and here's a guy with an axe. And he's beating down the door that's across the way from me, screaming at the top of his lungs that he's going to find her, and he wants her. Well, upstairs was a girl whose husband was in the Navy, and evidently he came home and figured out she was at this flea bag place and wanted to find out who she was with. So he was coming over to bust down my door when she finally yelled, hey, come on up, I'm up here, come on up, we'll have a party. So they went up, and I just heard a whole bunch of love-making for the next few days. But you just have to...
Your parents hated each other so much, they had to find separate coasts.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, hey, our life... Pete and I, from the very beginning, we've just had to battle our way up, and we've just managed to survive, and on we go.
How did you?
That's the way it is.
How did you
escape that? One constant in my life too. I mean, because like I told you guys the story last time about how she took me in when I had like nowhere to go too. So I don't want to get all weepy on you, because the other thing you got to remember was the other side of Eve. We decided we were going to have a seance. So there's a bunch of kids. 10, 12 years old, and we're in the back. We got a candle going, and we're holding hands, and we're saying, okay, pick some dead person, and somebody had a dead grandmother, and okay, we're going to talk to the dead grandmother, and we're reaching out to you with our spirits as one. There's 6 of us here. We're all together. We're putting our spirits together to reach out across the void, to reach you wherever you are, Grandma, Nana, Brenda, or whatever her name was. And the next thing we hear through the window is, I hear you.
Wow.
And 6 kids getting through a standard-sized doorway at the same time. I don't know how we did it, but we were all bruised on the other side. And here's my sister out in the front yard, rolling around and laughing. Oh, I got you so bad.
Yeah. Nice. Grandma was a strange bird, boy. She really was. She liked to fart. And she would go into a store, and she would fart, and then she would stare at a kid to make the mother think that the kid did it. and then laugh at the kid when he got stacked on the butt. So Grandma was a strange one.
I saw a woman the other day in a store just walking and just fart as she was walking. I was like, you're a slob. Like, you just hold that in. Like,
suck those farts in.
Yeah.
That's what theater. This is totally rehearsed on her part. She knew what she was going to do.
Oh, she had him on cue.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she liked to get everybody riled up. Well, there was a time she shit in a hat, too. We were going up to see my uncle, who lived Gorman, California. And so all us girls, all us girls had these feathered hats, right? Hats that had feathers on them.
They went to the LA County Fair. They won these hats. If you took something that you would put a plant in and turn it upside down and pasted a bunch of feathers on them, that's what they'd look like.
Right.
They had magic
So we're all
feather hats.
driving up there, and we got our feathered hats on. So Grandma says she has to take a crap. So we're out in the middle of nowhere. So Mom says, if you have to take a crap, shit in your hat. So Grandma craps in her hat. And so then my mom says, that stinks, get rid of it. So Grandma throws it out the window, and it hits this guy's windshield. And I can only imagine that he thought that was the biggest fucking bird he'd ever hit in his whole life. Because he's got feathers and shit all over his windshield.
Bag of brats.
So just the fact that your mother had to tell her to get rid of the shit, so did she just shit in the hat and like set it down?
She was going to keep it till you guys stopped.
What?
She was going to keep it. Like, your mom had to tell her to get rid of it.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you know, but hey.
She had to tell her to throw it out the window, out the fucking window, too. I didn't get that, and I was like about 6 years old. I went, why are we keeping that in the car? It's like, I just can't part with it. It's, came from me. I really worked on it.
I won the hat.
Yeah.
The hat, I earned that hat.
I'm going to clean this hat out later.
It's going to be washed. It'll be okay. I want this hat.
Saving Private Ryan when he's laying against the Jeep grill and the guy hands him a hat full of shit and says,
we need to do that on the show. We need to have one of our interns shit in a hat.
Yeah. But you got to throw it on a guy's windshield so he thinks he hit a pterodactyl or something, I mean, God.
Somebody's got to sleep in a nightcap, shit in a nightcap, and go throw it fling it into traffic. And Route 9. Slam bees.
So we had a really strange family growing up. What can I say?
And fold it back up.
What about when you found the dead guy in the laundry room?
In the laundry room?
Oh, yeah. We were living in Long Beach, and I would go downstairs. Well, first of all, one of my uncles had a girlfriend who had a son who was gay, and this was before the time that gays were accepted.
Yeah.
And he used to like to run around in his Speedos, and he was a big fat kid. So my uncle used to always kind of just keep his eye on him because he said if he squatted the pits, he was going to shoot him. So anyway, I go down to the laundry room to check things out, and there was just a dead guy laying there. It was like, oh, okay, so I just kind of like kicked him out of the way and did the laundry because I wasn't about to go upstairs and tell Grandma I hadn't started the laundry. So I just went back upstairs and told Mom and Grandma there was a dead guy in the laundry. So they came down and called the cops and got him out of there. So, yeah. So
Go ahead, go.
Go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead, go. Well, all I was going to say is this is just kind of more like she's like the John Wayne bad guy, and I'm like the gal in the bonnet sitting on the wagon. Oh, who will save us, right? I mean, she comes upstairs and she goes, yeah, there's a dead guy in the laundry, and nobody believed her. Nobody believed her. Every life just kind of went on like, oh, yeah, it's like it was just another piece of news. I threw out some trash. The neighbors over there going around, well, there's a dead guy in the laundry. and they go, no. And then I don't know what happened, and my mom got the strangest look on her face, like, what if that's really true? And she got up, and we went downstairs, and she got back up, and she shut the door, and she looked at me. She was all serious and sat down across from me, and she said, now, Pete, I want you to stay in the house. There's going to be some activity outside. Maybe the police will come. Some other stuff's going to happen. You need to stay inside because everything's okay and everything's going to be fine. Nothing's going to happen to you, And then from the kitchen, here comes Eve. Yeah, because there's a dead guy in the laundry.
Yeah. He's not going to take much, though. He's dead, So I didn't worry about him. I wasn't too worried about him at all. So, it's just I always had to look out for my brother, I had to make sure he didn't get too warped.
It's sadly that failed.
The what?
So now where are we? So it was. Well, go ahead, sorry.
I didn't say anything, dear. Go ahead. I'll follow your lead.
Oh God! Well, then we're all in trouble.
Yeah. Well,
my sister.
I already shot my big mouth off, So I had a whole 5 or 6 minutes before you could even get in.
Oh my God! You shot your wad. So you need to kind of respond back and charge. I get it. Okay. So my sister, both of us have been on our own since we were 16 years old. We have not really had the assistance of our parents. And so she grew up to be probably one of the toughest people I've ever met.
Yeah.
She was she was stock scenery director for Days of Our Lives, the soap opera.
I saw that you worked for NBC.
Yeah, I worked for them for a long time.
And she worked so hard. This is how hard her job was. She would sit at her desk with her feet up, and there was a television monitor where they were shooting the show, and they would take a couple feet, and they'd look in and they'd go, "Ring in the Wild Wall for shenanigans," and then she'd pick up a phone and call some hook, or a gaffer, I guess you call him, and, go get this wall, and then she'd hang up the phone and then sit back and watch the monitor. That was her job, right? So one day...
Well, yeah, you make it sound great.
I'll tell the story. One day she swings over, goes to stand up, and she breaks both ankles.
Oh, yeah. I stood up and my feet were asleep, and when I stood up, I fractured both my ankles.
Oh,
jeez. And my ankle, I know, it hurt like a fish. My ankles flipped sideways, and so the next day, the producer sent me flowers, and we had a guy that was our boss named Milt Altman, and everybody hated him. So we had these big A-frames that we put all our scenery on, and they're very heavy. So the next day, the producer sent me flowers and said, we've changed your story from sitting at your desk to you threw yourself in front of an A-frame to save Milt. So that was why I got flowers, because I saved Milt. But my job wasn't quite that easy, but it was pretty sweet for 8 years when we had our own studio. But when we went back to the main lot at NBC, it became a little bit more, politics and all that stuff. But I have to tell you, my husband's come down with this weird disease, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but I just want to tell him. He's come down with this thing. It's a version of Tourette's. You've heard about Tourette's?
Yes. Yeah.
And so, yeah. So anytime he watches the news now and the president comes on, he goes, "Fuck Trump." And then it's a Tourette's thing. He just says that wherever he is.
He'll always be talking on the phone in the back of my "Fuck Trump, fuck him, fuck him."
That's all if the news is on, that's all you see and all you hear is just the Tourette's.
That's all the news,
so anyway.
though. It's all the Trump news. Guys, we have to wrap this up, but thank you so much for calling us.
Okay, man. Thank you so much for having us on.
No problem. Love you guys. Where can everybody find you guys?
I'm sorry if we disappointed your audience in any way.
I don't care.
We're just
He's in the other room watching now. I see him rubbing himself furiously. He looks happy.
Be sure to take pictures of that and spread them around, okay?
Oh, yeah. We will.
All I'm going to say is I personally am not disappointed if Robin Slim's audience are disappointed because they listen to Robin Slim.
They come in with a low standard. They really do.
I like you guys anyway. I love you, Petey. I'll talk to you later.
All right, thank you guys. It was fun.
Yeah, thanks guys. It was fun. Anytime you need me there, anytime you need to fill in dead space, we're here.
So's the guy in the other room. I'm trying to get a picture. All right, guys.
Bye.
Take care,
guys. Bye, guys.
See you guys. Happy Halloween.